and thousands of Palestinian children, women, and men are butchered by this occupation in their alleged war, which is nothing but genocide, and this is done without remorse.
We the people can watch as you are our elected officials right now, but if you are not to listen to us, we the people have the power to vote you out.
I am here because I was born in Gaza. I have family there. I just had 17 members of my family got killed a month ago.
Every day the death toll grows, more children are orphaned or slaughtered, and we are responsible. Whatever power you have, use it. Ceasefire now.
We are at Citizens' Opportunity to address the City Council.
Okay. We have quite a few speakers tonight.
So, yes, it is Black History Month, and the genocide of the indigenous people and the African Americans have things to never be forgotten. For me, every month is a Black History Month. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and all great leaders of the African American community, their contributions are much appreciated, and we are indebted to all those who struggled in the path of liberty and freedom. I appreciate and applaud you, Madam Mayor, for celebrating the Black History Month. Madam Mayor, honorable city councilmen, today we are experiencing another form of genocide in Gaza. As an example, my friend, who's a humanitarian aid worker, lost his beloved wife. 4 of his beloved kids, actually all of them. He had only 4 kids. His wife's brother, and his wife's sister, and her husband, their kids. 2 of his wife's uncles, their wives, and their kids. The number I could count at that moment was about 30. Yes, we are far away from them, and I think that their affair does not impact us here in Peoria. Well, I believe it does. I am here calling for a ceasefire, to issue a resolution by the city of Peoria to call for a ceasefire. It is a message that we need to send to our elected federal officials who are distancing themselves from the public who are calling for a ceasefire. The city of Peoria, in my heart, it is my town, and it is as big as Chicago. Chicago has followed pursuit. We need to follow pursuit of Chicago. Chicago is calling for a ceasefire. So I am calling for the Madam Mayor and the Honorable City Council over here to issue a resolution calling for a ceasefire. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings of peace, esteemed members of the City Council. Today I come before you with a heavy heart, compelled to address the dire situation unfolding in Gaza. The gravity of this matter demands our attention and action. The occupation known as Israel expressed remorse when they shot 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza. They called it friendly fire when these 3 Israeli civilians were raising white flags. They were shot at and killed brutally. But you know what the punch is, honorable members? Hundreds and thousands of Palestinian children, women, and men are butchered by this occupation in their alleged war, which is nothing but genocide, and this is done without remorse. Some honorable members here today, and on a personal level, have expressed that they don't want to be divisive in their approach in calling for a ceasefire, as they represent all residents of Peoria. And this is a foreign affair. However, this in reality is irrational as well. It's as equivalent as saying that we will not condemn the murder of the late George Floyd because there are people who actually till today support the corrupt officers who committed these atrocities. Let's go even further back and say that by this standard, people won't condemn the slave trade and the genocide that was done against the native indigenous people and the African American people who are heroes of this land. By this standard of divisiveness or divisiveness, the International Court of Justice and their positions would be divisive as well, with 16-1 voting against the crimes of Israel, and that one judge who also voted in favor from Israel, also being condemned by her country. I also ask you, if you did not want to be divisive, my honorable members here, our leaders, then why did you light up the Matrakic Bridge in Peoria blue and white in solidarity with people who are now the killers and butchers? Why did you even think for a moment about those who have been massacred in Gaza? This senseless genocide has everything to do with Peoria. It is not a foreign affair, rather a local and a global affair, because it is our tax dollars funding the illegal apartheid and the occupation in their genocide. Over 30,000 people have been massacred since October 7th, with millions displaced without food, water, and medical necessities that they need to live. Masajid, i.e. mosques, churches indiscriminately bombed, universities, hospitals, gone to the ground. The occupation known as Israel told people from the north to flee to the south, and then from the south to further south. While now they are in Rafah, even further south, they've been bombed and killed at every juncture. At every juncture. The plan has been known, my friends, since the establishment of this apartheid state, that they are there for one purpose and one purpose only. And it is an evident fact through the maps, and this is none other than the annexing of more land. Something that nobody here, my friends, would accept for their own people, for Americans, for your family, and for your community. You would not want to lose your home and have people kicked out, making you leave your home. Many have stated, my friends, well, there are still hostages kidnapped in Gaza. The Almighty tells us in the Quran, and I'm a man of faith. Allah says, "I'dilu huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa," meaning, when you speak, be just. Yes, just as there is hostages in Gaza, there are 10,000 plus hostages in Israeli prisons in the form of women and children who are being tried within military courts. And some are not even tried and left to rot in prison. Freedom is not subjective. Freedom should be encompassing one and all, and it should be generally objective. This is not a Muslim thing. This is a human thing. That is why you see the diversity present here, and the pluralistic diversity and background in the many millions who are marching on this earth, calling for justice. Just glance at your hearts, my honorable leaders, which are sitting here today. Glance at your hearts and your humanity, and make the call that the tens of city councils have made, calling for a ceasefire. I conclude with a statement of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. All of you are shepherds and will most definitely be accountable for your flock. Ceasefire now. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Bravo.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rami Abdul. I stand in front of you today not just as a physician, but as a witness of war crimes in Gaza. In 2014 war, I was part of a medical mission to Gaza, where I saw with my own eyes the devastating impact of a conflict on innocent lives. The scenes I witnessed were beyond any horror one could imagine. Hundreds of dead or dying children, mothers, and elderly, victims of indiscriminate bombing and the use of internationally prohibited weapons by the Israeli army. It was, without exaggerating, hell on earth. In my role as a physician, I was confronted with scenes that challenged all my professional training and my expectations. I witnessed individuals badly wounded, their bodies torn into half, and still crying out for help in the emergency department. The reality was grim. We didn't even have basic painkillers to offer them a relief in their final moments. Our only resources was to lay them on the floor, praying that they will die in peace. And this showing clearly how we didn't have enough supplies, tools, or medicine to deal with the crisis we faced. Every face I saw belonging to a civilian, children with their future stolen. mothers whose lives were altered, and elderly individuals who had survived much, only to be shattered in an instant. The magnitude of human suffering was overwhelming, a relentless reminder of the devastating impact of the world's silence. Today, I urge you to compare the tragedy of 2014 war with the ongoing catastrophe. Back then, approximately 2,100 people lost their lives. Now the death toll has taken to more than 28,000 innocent lives. This staggering number is not just a statistics. It represents individual lives, families torn apart, and communities destroyed. As someone who served on the front line, and with my wife, who's originally a Palestinian, and now dedicating at this current moment while I'm talking to you, she's dedicating her time as a pediatrician to help children in this very city, Peoria. I implore you to reflect on the universality of childhood. Children across the world, whether in Gaza, Peoria, or anywhere else, share the same right to safety, to laughter, and to a future. Yes, yet as we speak right now, the fundamental right is being denied to the children of Gaza. We are at a critical juncture where our collective voice can make a difference. It's our moral obligation to call for a ceasefire, to stand up against the ongoing violence that threatens to escalate into a genocide in Rafah. This is not a matter of politics anymore. It's a question for humanity, of recognizing the value of every human life regarding their race, ethnicity, or religion. The situation demands our immediate attention and action. We must not remain silent. We must shout out for a ceasefire, for the sake of all children, for the sake of our shared humanity. The cost of inaction is great, and the time to act is now. Ceasefire now and free Palestine.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. First, we want to thank you for us being able to come speak with you guys and tell you guys exactly how we truly feel. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for taking the time to listen, and Chief of Police, Bureau of Police, thank you for your presence as well. I want to reiterate what Mike Vespa stated. Hate has no place in Peoria. I 100% agree, because hate has no place in this world whatsoever. And as he said, we should be praying for all poor souls that they may fall out safely. When we come here, and when all the different cities in the United States and many different countries ask for a ceasefire, they're not simply saying support only Palestine and that we wish any sort of hate on Israel whatsoever. When we ask for a ceasefire, when we demand a ceasefire, we want unity and we want safety for everybody. We have seen more than 20, if not 30,000 people, innocent, may I remind you, individuals being killed in Palestine. 30,000+ people, majority of them being kids and women. Imagine if that was your children out there being bombed indiscriminately, simply trying to survive, simply trying to find food, simply trying to live another day. Majority of these kids right now, they can't even get the basic support they need. They can't even get the basic food or water that they need. And as probably all of you know, water towers have been destroyed, hospitals have been destroyed, ambulances and non-stop places that are extremely important for human life have been destroyed in Palestine. Are we really going to believe that this is all in regards to trying to get the real target? In the United States, when there's a mass shooting at a school, and we want to get to that shooter. Do we blow up the whole school? No. We use smart tactics to go room by room to try to find exactly who that perpetrator is, who that terrorist is, and take that individual out. When we hear of Israel saying that, oh, there might have been some undercover or some Hamas or something like that inside of hospitals, so they blow the whole thing up, does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? That makes zero sense. On top of that, it's been very clear that it's a war crime, 120%. Yet no one speaks up for them when it comes to major countries, including the United States of America. The Illinois statute says terrorism is the definition of terrorism, a person commits an offense of terrorism when, with the intent to intimidate or coerce a significant portion of civilian population. What do you think that means, ladies and gentlemen? When we see constant taking over of lands of innocent souls, non-stop taking over their land, just like the United States of America did to the Native Americans, we can maybe say that we couldn't do anything about that today, back then. But today, when we see it going on, we can actually say something. We can actually do something. When we come to the city council to speak with each one of you guys, which I must remind you, you were elected to be in that position. We ask you simply to stand up for people that matter, not just in Peoria, but all across the world. I want to reiterate, when we say that we want a ceasefire, we're not saying, just like the leaked email, that, oh, we're going to divide the city of Peoria. We're not dividing the city of Peoria. When we speak up for atrocities and for terrorism, saying that terrorism is wrong, we must say it on all platforms. We can't just pick sides. Each one of you sitting in those chairs today, men and women, and Madam Mayor, when we simply say we want you to call for a ceasefire, we just want you guys to represent us as humanity. Not Muslims in particular, not Christians in particular, not Jewish people in particular, but humanity as a total. Because innocent lives does not discriminate. On top of that, one more thing I want to add, which many people, including people in this audience today, want to think that it's a religious issue. Killing innocent souls is not a religious issue. So I don't want you guys to sit here and think that we're siding with one religion or one country or anything like that. We're siding for what is right. Thank you.
Marcelo Diaz, followed by Justin Luma.
Hello. Give me 1 second. All right, as everyone here before me has stated, all we're asking you is to support the ceasefire resolution. You may say it isn't within our power to pass this or that it isn't a local issue, and I understand why you may think that. I do understand that this won't affect things on a global scale because we are a small voice, or rather a small piece in this grand puzzle of a country, but we still are a piece that completes the puzzle. As for local issue, well, it is a local issue because we have residents in Peoria that are Palestinian, who have family, who have friends, who have people that they know, along with people that are no longer around due to the indiscriminate killings and bombings because of the Israeli government. All of you sit there in positions of power saying you speak for the people, but how can that be true when you decide to turn a blind eye simply because you say it won't affect things on a global scale or it's not within your power to do so? Again, we may be small, but that doesn't mean that we don't matter, because we do. We're not telling you or asking you to take sides. We're asking you to represent the people to say that we don't stand for this, we don't stand for this violence, and we don't want to contribute to it, and we want an end to the violence that's happening. We the people can watch as yours are elected officials right now, but if you are not to listen to us, we the people have the power to vote you out. Even if it may not affect you on a personal said, we shouldn't have to wait for something to come knocking at our door to take action. So what are we waiting for? Thank you.
Justin Luba, followed by Adam Couture.
My name is Justin, and I was raised in Peoria, where I now live and vote, and I'm urging you to adopt a ceasefire resolution. I wake up every day and we realize that it could have been me, murdered on October 7th, or even taken captive. It could also have been me, torn apart by 2,000-pound bombs made in the United States and provided to the state of Israel. I understand that all of us are here right now, not slowly dying, with lungs full of dust and rubble, only by accidents of birth and circumstance. All life is sacred, and cycles of destruction do not end with further killing. The equal and irreducible value of all human life demands that we, at minimum, bear honest witness. There is nothing human in us that can look away from Gaza. There is no way to say nothing in the face of this and still walk away with one's own humanity intact. Yet so often it's easiest to silence what is human in us, killing for the sake of political expediency. Israel's current retaliatory assault on Gaza has included the decimation of all life-sustaining infrastructure and the blockade of essential aid. Sewage runs in the streets of Israel and salted the fields. This demolition includes razing of Gaza's domiciles, churches and mosques, schools, and the sieging of hospitals, and UN shelters, use of illegal chemical weapons, extrajudicial field executions, torture of civilians, weaponized starvation, and a further endless list of war crimes made possible by contributions from U.S. taxpayers. Continuing to refer to these acts as defense is dishonest propaganda. However, I am not here to talk about the distortions in popular rhetoric that try to make us believe that investing in cycles of violence will ever bring peace. I am not here to discuss with you that one people's grief could ever justify another's oppression and annihilation, and I am also not here to read out a list of heartwarming statistics or to provide historical context. I only want you to imagine a child. Preferably one who you are close with, your own, or a niece, or a nephew, or a grandchild, or a loved one's child. Imagine them playing on the beach with a kite or a shovel, calling your name and smiling. Imagine them being contemplative, perhaps outside or in their houses of worship. Imagine them loving their grandparents, speaking intensely with their friends, playing a game, drawing, being momentarily obsessed with something, deciding who to become and embracing a sense of themselves. Imagine watching this child's body imploding in bullets. Imagine that the last image you have of your child is a look of panic as the roof collapses from the force of an airstrike. Imagine them hunched and walking without food or water the 20-plus miles from the north to the south of Gaza, only to die painfully digested illness in a refugee camp. These are the least graphic descriptions. Nothing could justify this horror that our tax dollars have created. All of the children of Palestine are your child. Our government murders hundreds of your children every day with your taxes. They murder these children or leave them alone after murdering their family. At this moment, the Israeli assault on Gaza is an orphan factory and it runs on U.S. military aid. If you cannot or will not put your own children in the place of Gaza, in the place of the children of Gaza, you are the successful product of a racist dehumanization campaign. It should not be controversial for the ideologies that demand endless mass death contribute. They could never be wrong to protest the unceasing parade of mutilated Palestinian forces that we, Peorian taxpayers, bankroll. And it is not anti-anyone to advocate for universal safety, collective liberation, and well-being. Someone who attempts to tell you otherwise is either a coward, evil, misguided, or employed by the weapons industry. The United States taxpayers unwillingly donate $3.8 billion yearly to the state of Israel, in addition to billions more we provide in 2024. $1.7 billion of Peoria taxpayer money flows into this death machine yearly. In other words, we are the direct enablers of a plausible genocide, and with each dollar sent, we make ourselves more complicit. This is why we have to say no, not in my name, not with my money. We are each called politically, morally, and spiritually. There is no neutral position. If you are not saying no to genocide, you are saying yes. Refusing to call for a ceasefire in every capacity available to you amounts to an abdication of moral courage, a turning away from all that is human in you, and a complete rejection of equality, justice, and anything one could call God. Every day the death toll grows, more children are orphaned or slaughtered, and we are responsible. Whatever power you have, use it. Ceasefire now.
Followed by Anwar Hodge.
City Council, Madam Mayor, I'm going to speak with you guys from the heart. I know many of you know me, you know what I stand for, so there's no need for me to have to repeat myself over and over. Since it's Black History Month, let me remind you guys of a little history story that happened in 1963, Birmingham, Alabama. When the children, the black children, were sick of being segregated in Birmingham, Alabama, they got up and they protested on the street. Over 4,000 black children under 15 years old, under 8 years old, under 4 years old, got arrested and got put in prison. Now, when you see people my age coming out and speaking for what is right and what is wrong, then that just shows that something is going on, something is wrong, and that we need to stand up and we need to do something. Because I might not be old enough to vote, I might not be old enough to have a say in what happens in the world, but I definitely have the right to feel safe in my city, knowing that my elected officials aren't against what I'm doing, aren't against what I stand for, aren't against my beliefs. Because knowing that you guys can give us the opportunity of having a ceasefire in Peoria, that doesn't mean that we're discriminating, that we're picking sides, that we're doing anything. That just means that people, whatever side they're on, can feel safe. Can feel safe in our own city, knowing that our own elected officials believe that the death toll, the killing, everything that has been happening has to come to an end. Because it is over 30,000 people that have died in Gaza. Many of them I know, many of them I've tried to help. It's impossible. It's not easy. That's why we ask our city council members, we ask you, Madam Mayor, to come and propose a ceasefire on the agenda. At least put the ceasefire on the agenda. Have a vote. Let us know what our elected officials think about what is going on in a war that is in the Middle East. It's a big ask. No one's saying that whether you vote yes or whether you vote no, that nothing's going to happen. It's a big ask. And I ask you from the bottom of my heart, hoping to reach the bottom of your hearts, that's being blocked by politics, that's being blocked by votes, that's being blocked by funds for next election, hoping that my ask and the rest of the people here to ask can just put the ceasefire on the agenda. Whether you guys vote yes, whether you guys vote no, just knowing what our city council members think, knowing which one of our council members think that us being safe, us feeling safe is a good thing, because that's what we're here for. We just want it on the agenda. We just want to know your point of views on everything. You vote no, you vote yes, that's all up to you. Ceasefire now. Thank you.
Followed by Mahmoud Messier.
Good evening, esteemed members of the Peoria Council. For the record, my name is Anwar Hodge. I'm here today, along with several Americans who consider Peoria as their home, to request a 3-point resolution be passed by the City Council mandating the State of Israel to, point 1, enforce a permanent cessation of all bombing and military operations that have to date killed over 30,000 innocent civilians since October 7, of which at least 8,000 were children, while also leaving 17,000 children orphaned with no living parents. Allow for allow for the safe passage and distribution of humanitarian aid to 2.2 million starved and dehydrated civilians within the Gaza Strip, or as we speak, living on less than 1 meal per day, with reports showing several civilians eating grass and drinking seawater. Point 3, allow for UN investigative officials to conduct investigations into the intent behind Israel's self-proclaimed defensive operation that has now effectively killed over 30 of the remaining Israeli hostages due to their indiscriminate bombing campaign. The people of Peoria can no longer stand by while major powers within our government continue to use our tax dollars to finance this genocide happening to our brothers and sisters in Gaza. Let me be clear, by no means do I believe that if this resolution passed, Israel will stop their indiscriminate bombing of innocent civilians. There is an extreme power balance between the U.S. and Israel where we are for the first time seeing play out on a global stage. The state of Israel, or should I say Bibi Netanyahu and his far-right coalition within the Knesset, do not care about what the American people think of the genocide unfolding, but at the same time, they're completely content with the billions of tax dollars of the same American people being sent to Israel every year. This resolution means more symbolically than it does in application. This resolution will ensure once the history books are read, the councilmen, women, and residents of Peoria are illustrated on the right side of justice and not on the side of apartheid and occupation. Thanks to the advent of social media and the age of information, we are seeing in real time that acts of the Israeli occupation forces are going unchecked, giving these bad faith actors a platform to display their complete and utter disregard for human life, let alone humanitarian law. To those opposed to this three-point proposal, I ask why. What precedent are we setting on the global stage by not doing the bare minimum and putting a stop to this genocide? How will we tell Russia that it cannot do as it pleases to Ukraine? How will we tell China that it cannot invade Taiwan? My last parting question that I urge the members of the council to reflect on. Do you truly believe Netanyahu, in an effort to save his political career, wouldn't drag our loved ones into a larger regional war? If your answer is no, then the passing of this resolution is where we start to ensure our loved ones are safe within the U.S. and abroad. Thank you.
Ms. Yett, followed by Sheldon Cass.
Madam Mayor, Councilman, thank you. Thank you for having us here to speak out. I'm going to speak out a little different than what those people speak out here. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قبل 1445 سنة سيأتي زمان يكذب فيها الصادق ويصدق فيها الكاذب. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he is the last man for all mankind. He brought the peace and justice for everyone, whether black, white, Hindu, and everyone, for all mankind. Now, what he said is that the time will come that the one who speaks the truth, he will be called liar, and the one who told the lies, he will be called as truthful. And this is the time that we are in now. And this is a time that we call the time of lying. Everything, I would say 90% is lying what we hear about in the news, in the media. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the truth. I've been here for over 50 years. I'm 70 years old. I was born in Palestine, 1953. I was under occupation, under the Jordanian government, and it comes in 1967 under the Israeli government, and still now under occupation. I have land, I have house, I have family, all of them they live there. And we're still under occupation, and our life is just go and come, just like you're in jail, big jail for us. Now, to give you also a history that Israel was established in 1948. Prior to that, the Middle East was occupied through Britain, and Britain, the one who brought those Zionists to Palestine to terrorize people, take their land, kill people, and it's all proven or it's all documented. The massacres they did, they have seen, the massacres they did also in Sabra, Shatila, in Lebanon, all of these massacres, all those names, prominent names, what's his name, Herzl, also Moshe Dayan, Sharon, the one he did Sabra, Shatila, massacre, and in the front of all that board are watching that. Where is justice? Where is justice? We need justice for everybody, no matter where they are. Nowadays, what we see in Gaza is the destruction for everything. Destruction for human lives, stones, trees, everything that you can imagine. You can see, you have to watch the news and you have to look for the truth, as I said. They killed the Beit Egyptians, more than 135, if I'm correct. They killed the media people that they broadcast or killed the truth. They killed them. One of the names also, probably you heard Akli, previously in the West Bank. She was shot and killed. And also, there's so many they get killed. Because they are telling the truth. And for 75 years we still under occupation, and what more can I can't do all of that in 75 years. All we can come here, you are the people, they are denying drink, food, water for everybody, and they're not putting anything to go through the people of Gaza. All we're asking you, the councilman, to vote for that with your conscience, to end up this war or to have a ceasefire. And maybe you say yes, maybe you say no, but it all goes back to the administration or the president and the House and the Senate, and those are the people to decide that. We can say, we can express our feelings, but it all the same comes to them. They can stop, say, Israel, stop, killing the people, that's it. And they can do that. Thank you.
Garcia, followed by Tyrone Campbell.
Good evening, my name is Sonny Garcia. I work for the Muslim Civic Coalition as a civic justice organizer. As we speak right now, as we postpone a vote on a resolution, all eyes are on Rafah. The following is a post from a physician who's on a mission in Gaza currently. These are his words. As I am writing you, noise of drones and fighter jets is getting louder and louder. It's the loudest since I entered Gaza 2 days ago. I was lucky to get a weaker internet connection today, so thought to write it down. Danger of massive massacre is evident now. Requesting lots of prayers. We had a hectic day today, and it was unsettling to work under the noise of drones hovering above us. Now the darkness of the night, when there's no electricity, food, and water, we hear that the occupation will launch another attack at any moment. There are displaced refugees, including many physicians who are working at the hospital and returning to their makeshift tents without the guarantee of seeing another sunrise. I met a physician today who was actually the head of the health ministry of Gaza, but he is now living in a tent on the streets of Rafah after being displaced. He lost all his savings in a split second when Israel bombed his house, and he is now struggling just to survive. His youngest son, only 10 years old, only wishes to eat an egg, which he has not been able to do in 4 months. What we take for granted in the comfort of our homes is a wish, a dream for these people. This story is not an anomaly. This story is of nearly 2 million people that are trying to survive 4 months of bombing and ground invasion, while we sit here and wait and postpone the ceasefire resolution. If that doesn't speak to your heart, maybe the dollars and cents of it will. Today, Illinois invests $152 million as their portion for bombs to bomb innocent women and children. That money could be better served for households, for housing for people around the year. Could be better served for our educational system. Could be better served for youth at-risk programs here in the city of Peoria. Could be better served for a million different reasons. But no, we want to stay here in silence and allow the genocide. And yes, it is a genocide. I know what they're saying. My people suffered the same outcome of these lands hundreds of years ago, and people look the other way. I've worked with immigrant rights organizations, I've worked with undocumented people, I've worked with Black Lives Matter, and today I'm working with Muslims. And my fight will always be for justice and for liberty for everyone, including Muslims, including Jews. I've been working with the Muslim Civic Coalition for a couple months. I've been working for a free Palestine for years, and never once have I heard one of my Muslim brothers and sisters say an anti-Semitic term. Never once have I heard them talk But since October 7th, I've heard over and over and over again the Jewish brothers and sisters call for the complete annihilation of my Palestinian brothers and sisters. So how do you and the rest of the city council to stop being neutral and support the ceasefire resolution? Thank you.
Followed by Jamaluddin Amanova.
Esteemed members of the Peoria City Council, I come here not only as a Palestinian, but also as an American concerned with the issue of expression. Over the past few months, it has become obvious to me that despite the concern breaches of both the Geneva Convention and international law, we continue to run and support a country that has repeatedly lied to this country and disrespected us as a whole. From the very beginning, Israel has made their intention clear. They want to remove the current population of Gaza through forced displacement and by mass murder. It is not like they're even hiding either. In fact, Netanyahu's coalition have frequently used an astonishing amount of dehumanizing language. Netanyahu even refers to Palestinians as the people of animals, a statement that biblically called for the annihilation of men, women, children, as well as their livestock. The President of Israel himself is no exception. From the very beginning, he states that it's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not being aware and not involved. It is absolutely not true. And we will fight until we break their backbone. Clearly, this statement shows that they're collectively blaming Palestinians for the action of the militia that has only 30,000 members. These are just statements from the top government members. There are hundreds of examples repeated by other Knesset members, as well as military personnel. Actions speak louder than words, but their actions have yet to contradict any of their statements. Israel has already began its actions of collective punishment by starving an entire population of 2.2 million people, half of which are children, while simultaneously decimating the Gaza Strip. No hospital, home, school, location, or even UN building has been saved. All of it has been turned to dust and rubble. Why, you may ask? In order to remove the population, which Israel, in order to remove the population, Israel has attempted to do openly while referring to it as voluntary migration, slowly pushing the population deeper into south, driving them in a tight perimeter of the border. They even held a meeting for resettlements, a move that breaches international law, which 12 Knesset members attended. The situation is so bad that they're currently on trial for the crime of genocide by The Hague. Contrary to what John Kirby has said about the case being meritless, The Hague has determined that there is in fact a case for genocide. In fact, the court's deemed is so plausible that they have even granted many of the provisions required by South Africa and required Israel to changed. Rather than complying with the courts, Israel has doubled down on their assault and has time and time again ignored all advice from the international community. This arrogance doesn't seem to come from nowhere. It is because of the policies of the Biden administration that Israel is aware of its immunity. Even with the worrying circumstances in the talk coming from Israel, Biden still stands firm with Israel despite outrage from the vast majority of the world. Josh Hall, former director of political and military affairs responsible for the U.S. security, assistance in arms transfer, resigned due to the Biden administration seemingly bypassing the usual protocol for the transfer of weapons to a foreign state. He himself called the short-sighted and reckless concern. We also continuously sold weapons and provided them with billions in financial aid, despite them ignoring all advice or goals of the U.S., ignoring advice or goals the U.S. has set out for us. The U.S. has even gone so far as to lobby in Sweden as to avoid a meeting to discuss Israel's breach of Geneva Convention. I'd like to reiterate that Israel again is on trial for genocide. Many are wondering why the U.S. is going so far for Israel, and some are wondering who the hell is in charge here. Biden has been making us look like a joke to the world. Much of the conflict in the Middle East is all heating up solely because of the current genocide in the Gaza Strip, a location that has been repeatedly called in a prison. If the ICJ case deems Israel's actions a genocide, which it likely will, it only reiterates to the world that international law does not matter as long as you have military capabilities, a very dangerous message to send to the world. It also makes the U.S. a complicit participant in the Gaza genocide, making us no different than China or Russia. Esteemed members of the City Council, I regret to inform you all that I have a lot to say, but not enough time to convey everything that I can say. But I do urge you to call for a ceasefire as soon as possible. Much of the Arab community has felt forgotten and ignored. It seems like our lives don't matter, and we are nothing more than token members of the country, where our presence is acknowledged, but our opinions don't matter. I'd love to say that each and every single one of you can talk more in depth into the situation as well as concerns of the community. If you'd like to be, I'd be more than happy to.
Breyer, followed by Noah Hall. Terry Breyer.
Terry Brink. That's okay. Dear Mayor Ali and City Council members, I urge you to support and vote for a ceasefire resolution in Palestine. Since my visit to the West Bank in the early 90s, I have noticed how conditions for the Palestinians have gotten much worse. And when I was there, Palestinians were subject to administrative detention, settlers would fire machine guns at water tanks that the Palestinians had of other houses for water, destroy olive groves, take over houses, and it's just gotten much worse in the 3 years since I've been there. President Carter was right when he wrote that Israel is an apartheid state. South Africa, a country that is very familiar with apartheid, filed a referral to the International Court of Justice for an investigation into alleged war crimes committed by Israel in Gaza. On January 26th of this year, the International Court of Justice in The Hague adopted binding orders that include requiring Israel to prevent genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza. Also, they asked them to enable the provision of basic services and humanitarian assistance and prevent and punish incitement to commit genocide. Over 1.5 million civilians have been displaced by the invasion of Gaza. They are in danger of starvation, malnutrition, and diseases such as cholera and PTSD. Every U.S. tax dollar spent in Israel is less money that can be spent on domestic spending such as housing and medical care. Every dollar provided to Israel pays for the war against Palestinians. please send a message to the federal government that Peorians do not want their money spent for the death, maiming, and displacement of Palestinians. Pass a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Noah Palm, followed by May Abuli.
Good afternoon, my name is Noah Paul. I'm here to call for a resolution for a ceasefire. I am currently an ICC student on track to become a high school history teacher. I love history because it not only repeats itself, but it also gives context for the present. In preparation for this public comment, I did not need to look far to find a historic speech with disturbing parallels to the situation we find ourselves in today. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. needs no introduction, especially in Black History Month, but tonight I'm going to talk about one of his more unexplored speeches. In 1967, King delivered a controversial sermon at a Baptist church in Atlanta, Georgia, titled, "Why I Am Opposed to the War in Vietnam." Sharp criticism was hurled at King for his position from the press, Congress, and other civil rights activists because of the concern that it would distract from the struggle for civil rights. One person told King that peace and civil rights don't mix. In other words, people were telling him to shut up and dribble. However, King had a very different perspective on the matter, and his moral compass would no longer allow him to ignore the issue. In the opening minutes, he sets the foundation of the argument on the platform of moral obligation. He stated, "I chose to speak about the war in Vietnam because I agreed with Dante that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who in a period of moral crisis maintain their neutrality." There comes a time when silence is betrayal. Like his mountaintop speech, he doesn't stop there. Despite the belief of others that expanding his civil rights struggle to include international solidarity would be detrimental to the cause, King believed that it would be detrimental not to include it. King exposes the contradiction of the United States spending $500,000 to kill one person 8,000 miles away, when the United States was only spending $57 to help one poor person here at home. Similar to how we currently give approximately $3.3 billion a year to Israel in grants under the Foreign Military Financing Program, when District 150 only has 87 cents per student for their art program. King sums it up by saying the bombs in Vietnam explode at home. They destroy the hopes and possibilities for a decent America. The last major point I'll focus on is King's perspective on violence. In Peoria, I think we are all united in the struggle to end violence in our community. There are a plethora of violence prevention initiatives over the last few years from City Council and non-government organizations. However, King believed that you could not condemn violence here at home when being silent about violence abroad. He stated, "I agree that I can never raise my voice against violence and the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government." He continues, "There's something strangely inconsistent about a nation or a press that will praise you when you say be nonviolent towards Jim Clark, but curse you when you say be nonviolent towards little brown Vietnamese children. Similar to how we would say today, there's something strangely inconsistent about a nation or a press that will praise you when you say be nonviolent towards Derek Chauvin, but curse and damn you when you say be nonviolent to little brown Palestinian children." I'm not the only one looking at this crisis through the historical lens of King. Travelers Weekly published an article last month by Mark Lampkin titled, "What Would King Be Doing Today?" Lampkin agrees and says that he believes that King would likely rail against President Biden for being silent on the bombing of innocent people in Palestine. Another thing I wanted to say, I didn't write this down, but how many people here are supporting the ceasefire? Please raise your hand. Behind me stands a multinational, multi-ethnic, multi-generational, bisexual, gay, straight, trans, cis, everybody is here ceasefire, supporting multi-religion. I don't understand how we can stay silent about something that is obviously affecting so many people in our community. So in my opinion, that is why I'm here calling for a ceasefire. I hope that you, in a period of war crisis, you lose your neutrality, call for nonviolence, call for peace, call for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Abahuli, followed by Rabbi Nogo. Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Mayor and Honorable City Council members. I am here because I was born in Gaza. I have family there. I just had 17 members of my family got killed a month ago, including a displaced family who stayed with them. My family now is in Rafah. They moved, and now we are worried about them again. Several weeks ago, Marcus Aziza is a journalist who was documenting horrors in Gaza, and he was interviewed by NBC. When he asked if he had a message for the American people, he said something that really stuck with me. He said, "Don't call yourself a free person or a free people if you can't make change. Don't call yourself a free person if you can't stop a genocide." When 27 out of 50 states have passed an anti-boycott legislation to make it illegal to boycott Israel, how can we call ourselves a free people? When hundreds of thousands of people have protested in the streets calling for a ceasefire, when people are losing their jobs for speaking against the occupation, when our government ignores our voices and bypass Congress to sell over 100 million worth of weapons to Israel, how can we call ourselves a free people? I stand here, our council, to make the change necessary, to hear our voices, and to call for an immediate ceasefire. Thank you. Followed by Candy McNeil.
Hello. Hi, my name is Miranda. As of 2022, U.S. taxpayers have provided Israel with over $317.9 billion over the years. According to the U.S. State Department, in 2022 alone, U.S. taxpayers gave Israel $3.3 billion in aid, of which $8.8 billion went to the state of Israel's economy, and the remaining 99.7% of U.S. taxpayer money went to the Israeli military. U.S. taxpayers are footing the bill for Israel's genocide campaign against the native people of Palestine. The Israeli extremist government providing its citizens with weapons and immunity to perform barbaric acts against regular people who are just trying to live. The West Bank area of the occupied Palestine is governed by the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas. Yet hundreds of women, children, and men have been illegally detained, harassed, for being Palestinian. Israeli settlers are blocking aid trucks right this moment as I speak, with full support from the state of Israel. With the aid sent to Israel in 2022 alone, our government could have funded 451,735 households with public housing for a year. 1,322,199 kids could receive free health care. 41,490 teachers' salaries for a year. 10,818,505 households with solar power for 1 year.
100,563 students with fully covered college loans. For decades, a foreign, illegitimate country has been tampering with American politics, lining our government's pockets with blood money so that our U.S. puppets will look the other way and even defend their plan to ethnically cleanse Palestine of its people. I will not waste my breath debating the morality of the genocide in Gaza. I have seen countless videos of maimed babies, decomposing human bodies, and millions of Gazans who have lost everything. If you have not witnessed this, that is the American propaganda machine purring. We have been denied our First Amendment rights to free speech. All U.S. news outlets, major social media apps, and especially our representatives in the U.S. government have been working tirelessly to censor us and keep us silent. I will never be silent in the face of genocide. I will never. When did saying stop killing babies become left-wing extremism? Peoria passed a ceasefire resolution simply because it's the right thing to do. Just as Peoria City Council passed a resolution to prevent companies from shutting off the power to family homes in the winter was the right thing to do. You said it will divide Peoria, but if one half says stop killing babies and the other half says keep killing babies, I hope you'd say, well, killing babies is bad. It really is that simple. Argument that calling for a ceasefire is anti-Semitic. Killing anyone in the name of Judaism is anti-Semitic. Regular, everyday Jewish people are being lumped in with bloodthirsty psychopaths. As for divisiveness, I don't think Peoria would disagree that we are tired of white men standing on brown necks in the boots that we paid for. With a quote from Elie Wiesel, whose family was murdered in Auschwitz concentration camp, where he was also held. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Thank you.
Followed by an average. Netanyahu said he will not stop. Who here would not want to stop the killing, the bombing, the destruction, the violence, the takeover by those who believe they are entitled because what we gave them, they want more? Who's calling for hate? Not us, nor division, nor panic, but an ongoing, thoughtful, decisive call for peace. All we are saying is give peace a chance. I'm going to speak from a voice of a Christian and a voice of a Jewish person. First, Reverend Bishop William Barber, co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, made a moral case for a Gaza ceasefire. In a recent interview, he spoke of a vigil held by a group of Christian leaders outside the White House, demanding that President Biden support a ceasefire in Gaza. And they said then that we must all join forces with Jews and Christians and Muslims around the world who are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and the safe return of all hostages and civilian prisoners and to stop the killing. To quote Bishop Barber from an article that he wrote about Hamas, also challenged the apartheid state that the Netanyahu regime has had in Israel. We said then, we must speak as one voice. Christians, Muslims, and Jews must say the indiscriminate killing of women and children in this war is immoral. You look at scripture in Isaiah 10, it is straight from text that Muslims, Jews, and Christians all agree on. It ought to be a framework for how we move forward. The scripture reads, "Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless." This is a prophetic challenge to governments and to what Netanyahu and these governments are doing today. Here's a note from anti-Zionist writer Amanda Gellinger. I am a Jewish person who opposes the settler colonial state of Israel. This is not despite my Judaism, but because of it. My Jewish elders warned me about how all of society can converge to commit genocide under the pretense of making the world safer. They also taught me that our duty to rise against tyranny supersedes any other earthly loyalty. Jewish people of conscience know that Israel's massacre of Palestine is also an assault on the Jewish faith. We refuse to sacrifice the beating heart of Judaism at Zionism's altar of violent nationalism. Israel's use of religious symbols in its genocide of Palestinians is an affront to Judaism and has robbed Jews of a faith practice that is divorced from nationalist barbarism. Anti-Semitism, you say? No. It's anti-violence. It's anti-genocide. It's a call to unite for a ceasefire. It's a call for peace. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Ali. What is happening in Palestine is a reflection of the U.S. It is a reflection of the grotesque mistreatment perpetuated amongst indigenous people globally. And I speak this as we are standing on stolen land. Can you imagine being kicked out of your home, cut off from basic supplies, being starved and dehydrated? To witness mass murder and experience constant bombardment, displacement, and abuse. Can you imagine being deprived of sleep for over 100 nights, from buzzing drones, helpless cries and moans of those packed so near, and the cold, having no solid shelter to protect yourself and your loved ones from the elements? The physical and psychological damage from the bombings and displacement is inhumane and a clear crime. Not only do the bombs and destruction affect human life, but our non-human relatives and the land itself. Psychological and environmental dysfunction will continue to grow. The impact is immense, and I believe we are harming more than we can truly conceptualize. A call for a permanent and true ceasefire in Palestine is a call to end occupation around the world. It's a call from the people that we will not stand for such brutality on any and all land. A call for a lasting ceasefire symbolizes saying no to bombs, no to killing, no to forced labor, no to human exploitation. We say not in Palestine, Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sudan, Congo, United States, Central America, we are able to stand up against, no matter how small our voice may seem. A ceasefire resolution in Peoria may not fix an international crisis, but it will show our solidarity for life. It is a message to our higher level petitions, because the health of the world and humanity depends on our universal and collective health as a people. Thank you.
Lawrence Michelle. short, but at the end, it's done.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you folks for listening to us. It's a great opportunity, we appreciate it. I want to read something from Pastor Seth Major. He's a great cleric, religious cleric here in Peoria, very community-minded. And he says, Dear Mayor Ali and the member of Peoria City Council, a scheduled commitment prevents me from being present this evening, but whoever is reading these words of mine has my permission to do so. This evening, I call on this council to join with dozens of other cities across the country in a vote to adopt a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the brutal conflict between Israel and Hamas, primarily taking place in Gaza. As a local member of the Christian clergy of our city, as well as a resident of Peoria, I have been honored and humbled by the friendship, peace, and mutual respect extended to me by the local Palestinian community, as well as their activist allies. They welcomed me to speak at one of their public peaceful demonstrations several months ago. Influenced by the peaceful ethic of Jesus Christ and God's vision for a world without war, suffering, or pain, I have longed for a ceasefire since the moment the conflict began. At the moment of his arrest, Jesus was known to have said to those seeking to defend him, "Put down your weapons." Since this moment in history, there has been a tradition of nonviolence within Christianity, although, like many in this country, there has been a warping of the words of Scripture to justify violence. To be clear, Jesus, our Lord and Messiah, wants no one to die. I would personally be discouraged if the Council was ultimately unwilling to vote on the ceasefire resolution being presented to them. To avoid voting would be for you to avoid engaging in one of your central functions as elected officials. And to not vote in favor of the ceasefire would mean that you do not mind to see the death toll rise. Please listen to the words being spoken this evening with open ears and vote. Signed, Reverend Seth Major. Okay, I also have an announcement here. We've reached out to various organizations in the city, and they wanted me to say this tonight. The Peoria Proud Board met last night for its monthly meeting and voted to sign on to the ceasefire resolution. A board member has signed the petition on our behalf of Peoria Proud. These are important people in our community, like everyone is here, like these people, like these people, like these people. And the voices are growing louder. You know, some of our elected leaders have asked to take a neutral stand. Archbishop Desmond Tutu said to take neutrality is to side with the oppressor. We all understand this. We cannot avoid this situation. You worry about division. Well, it's here. And let's deal with it in a calm, humane, rational way. One more thing. This is Black History Month. Does anyone, for 1 second, believe that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that C.T. Vivian, that Mark Clark, that them and many more legendary civil rights leaders, does anyone doubt for a second that they would not call for a ceasefire. Ceasefire now, do the right thing, adopt the resolution, and let's do your jobs.
We have Ramirez Abi Akar, followed by Abi Akar.
Mayor Lee and council members, I feel the urgency to take a stand in this respected public forum to focus on a noble cause. There is an ugly injustice against humanity that has been worsening in the Middle East for 4 months, and the USA is unfortunately turning a blind eye. Actually, instead, USA is helping the injustice being dreadfully perpetrated. Innocent people are slaughtered in front of our eyes around the clock. Plus, those who luckily escape death are having their lives scattered, their houses bombarded, and are undergoing famine, disease, and horrific living conditions. Over 28,000 souls have been killed by now. Taking side or no side, it is a genocide. What an irony. Palestinians have lived in their land for centuries, but alas, they are not at liberty to govern themselves. They've been brutally occupied by the army of another country and are deprived of their freedom. The Middle East region has been on fire constantly for 7-8 decades, be it on the Palestinian land or on the Lebanese one. There was a horrific war every 10 to 12 years between Israel and a Palestinian component. Previous names were around the past, such as PLO, Arafat, Fatah, and other resistance groups. All are dead. The most recent war episode is on Gaza this time, and the enemy is named Hamas. Reasonably speaking, if occupation will continue, a new name would sprout in the near future. Gentlemen, no matter the reasons for such horrible hysteria, there has got to be a way to stop it. It's unfortunate that the USA has chosen to veto all proposed solutions tirelessly crafted by the Security Council. A number of American cities bravely raised the red flag. We wonder why Peoria cannot do the same. We Peorians have a chance to make an indirect impact. Otherwise, a passive action on this detrimental topic would strongly stamp Peoria as lacking the humanitarian touch. Our hope is for a ceasefire support from here and a ceasefire support from there that would inspire the entire nation to believe in a global humanity. Oh my God, we can't wait for a permanent ceasefire. I hope Peoria will be the next in joining the righteous group, freedom and peace for all. Our friend here said that they have a bad October 7. Maybe right. Gaza has had an October 7 version every single day.
By Darcy Katie.
Thank you for listening to us, taking this time to listen to us. My name is Ray Ward. I've been living here for a couple of decades in Peoria. I'm a professor at Bryan University. And we are all citizens. First, we start by reading the Muslim reading easily upon you. And what's really interesting is that Muslims are quite often in the mass media being presented as violent, as not peace-loving, while they follow the only religion in the world that extracts its name from peace, and that's Islam, which basically comes from the word Salam, Salam, which is peace. So peace would be upon you all. We are citizens of a nation that is one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. These concepts that I have always believed in and cherished, and they should be the norm for humanity as well. However, I'm deeply distraught by the stance our government has taken lately vis-a-vis the plight of the Palestinian people and the genocide perpetrated by Israel against them. The stance that is dividing our country into three groups: those who think that human rights are limited to a certain group of people, and who are consequently and unconditionally supporting the Israeli genocide; those who are not taking a clear stand; and those who value the sanctity of human life and are trying their best to push for Israeli war machine to be stopped. The Biden administration is creating a division between the people and showing that liberty and justice are not for all people to enjoy. The Palestinian people have been under brutal occupation for more than 75 years, and the 2.3 million people living in Gaza have been under a total blockade since 2007. We are talking here about an area that is about 1/4 of the Peoria County area. But listening to the mainstream media and the Biden administration would make one think that the Israeli war against Palestinian people in Gaza and West Bank, it's not a war against Hamas, is the result of October 7th attack by the Palestinian resistance. They never tell you, however, about the attacks that the Israeli army and settlers have been inflicting on the Palestinian people on a daily basis since 1948. They tell you about the 240 prisoners that were taken by the Palestinian resistance. And again, it's not just Hamas, there are many factions. But they never tell you about the more than 5,000 Palestinian civilians, including women, and more than 1,500 children that are being held hostage by Israel without any charges and in the direst conditions. Did anyone ask themselves where the more than 300 Palestinian women and children who were released by Israel in exchange for the reserved women and children came forth and why they were being held by Israel in the first place? Our president and others in his administration repeated lies, and we heard some lies here on this floor today, were presented by Israel as facts to justify the brutal war being perpetrated on Palestinian people. We know now that the only beheaded babies are those who were beheaded by Israeli bombings of heavily videos and pictures. And the only women that were assaulted are those who were assaulted by Israeli soldiers.
Inappropriate. We do not debate rape cases in the public forum.
And these are very well documented in many various organizations, including some Israeli peace-loving people organizations. We now know that Mahdi Hospital and Associated Church were bombed by Israel, not by a stray rocket from the resistance. And yes, there are Palestinian Christians living in Gaza. We now know that there were no control and command centers under the Shifa Hospital, and that the famous list was just a calendar with the names of the days written on it, not the names of guards, of hostages. The war on the Palestinian people has been going on for more than 75 years, and it's got to stop.
This war, like the ones before it, will not bring peace. Only peace brings peace. Isn't it enough if more than 28,000 people, including more than 12,000 children and more than 8,300 women, have been killed? Isn't it enough that more than 68,000 people, including 6,700 women and 6,400 children, have been wounded? Isn't it enough that 7,000 people are still missing under the rubble? 36,000 residential units destroyed, 300 facilities, 11 of 35
19, 20, 21,
and
22,
the list
23,
keeps growing.
25,
Consider this,
26,
every African
time's up, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34,
12 buildings are
35,
destroyed.
36,
Palestinians had nothing to do
37,
with the
38,
Holocaust, but they
39,
are
40,
living the Holocaust.
21. It's a question of either being on the side of humanity or against it. You either have humanity in you or you don't.
Can I get an extra minute
to
to?
have the courage to join a number of other cities in the U.S. to pass a resolution for an immediate ceasefire in Palestine. That is in Gaza and in the West Bank. Thank you for your time. Sorry for going.
By Susan Katz.
Good evening, council members, Madam Mayor, Dr. Ali. Thank you for hearing our concerns tonight. I would like to address everyone in the room, take a moment, that we respect the distinguished council and this space where we display freedom of speech. It is a tremendous honor in this nation that we have the ability to do so. It deserves to be honored. Truth will prevail. Some words leading up to today, I am here to request a ceasefire resolution be taken to a vote by the council. I ask this of you because of the humanitarian crisis and genocide taking place in Palestine. Before asking this of you all, I had to first ask myself, am I taking the mail to the right address? And then, is what I'm asking the council to do reasonable given their role? And I feel the answer to both at this time is yes. While we are requesting a ceasefire resolution to be voted on and supported by multiple government officials, multi-government levels, as a local grassroots coalition, it makes sense that we should start by taking our concerns to local leaders and all of you, City Council. Furthermore, what I and other ceasefire supporters are asking each of you to do is reasonable given your role because of the direct ties that tax dollars from local citizens have in funding the humanitarian crisis currently. I am well aware that each of you were voted into your roles based upon how you can help the community locally, and international diplomacy in this space will feel like a reach. But that's not what I am asking of you. What I am asking, by having a ceasefire resolution taken to a vote, is that you serve the best interests of the community locally by openly supporting what we, the community, do not want our local tax dollars going towards. We do not want to support a humanitarian crisis. The loss of life is horrifying. 30,000 plus Palestinians killed since October 7th. Innocent people, and that is who I speak for. Innocent people. Palestinians bombed in the north, and then fleeing further south to Khan Yunis and later Rafah, all while being shot at while fleeing violence and carpet bombed, being killed and maimed on the way to their next refugee camp. One of the most disturbing things about this is that, Israeli forces want innocent Palestinian civilians to leave an area, so they drop leaflets from the sky, telling them to take to the road, what direction to flee, and leave by a certain time, such as sundown or the next day. In principle, in theory, this sounds reasonable. What proceeds to happen is not. They are shot and carpet bombed along designated passageways to the next destination. Why would the Israeli military be killing people in an area deemed safe, that they designated openly as safe, both passage and for arrival? The military killing journalists and medical staff at unprecedented rates daily if their only goal is neutralizing a terrorist threat. Every single doctor cannot be a terrorist. Every single journalist, 135. And the people who potentially reveal it unless you have a motive, which is to sequester it, to kill it. Every single innocent child cannot be a terrorist. At some point, we have to acknowledge collectively as a community, as a whole, that what is going on defies logic and is inhumane. Or else what do we stand on as a community, as a people? I am asking that each of you on the council exercise your privilege as individuals selected by the community for your wisdom, foresight, and leadership to please support a ceasefire resolution, to please account for the local impact of an international crisis that therefore gives you just cause to represent your community on this matter. Thank you, ceasefire.
Thank you, representatives, for allowing us the opportunity to speak. I think it's very important as residents of the community to respect each other. In that regard, I hope people can respect you guys. This is something to hear the way they reacted when you guys spoke. That being said, I'm also surprised to hear why this issue is controversial. A ceasefire does not mean picking a side. I do understand, though, that some of my fellow residents have fears about Hamas, and Hamas has been designated as a terrorist organization. But it is important to understand how organizations like this arise. If a child has seen their parents, their siblings, their grandparents all killed, and they grow up in an atmosphere where they do not have any opportunities, how can you expect that person to become anything but an extremist? The US has personally experienced this through our 20-year adventure in Afghanistan. We did not defeat Afghanistan or the people over there by bombing them out, because what you do is create a next generation of terrorists. After the US defeated Germany in the First World War, they imposed harsher sanctions on the Germans, and it resulted in the horrible regime of Nazis. Imposing bad conditions on your enemies does not create friends. To truly create friends, you have to give those people opportunities. Now, I understand that it is not the right place to debate foreign policy. However, it is the right place, I think, to talk about the feelings of the citizens of Peoria. Residents over here have mentioned how they lost family members. Residents have mentioned how they know people who have been killed. Addressing those things are a part of, I think, your jobs. Therefore, I hope that in the land of Lincoln, the person who pursued freedom for other people, that you sign on to this resolution as a symbol for what Peoria stands for. We cannot delegate foreign policy just to the federal government. Peoria, like other small cities, can constantly not be ruled over. We have to show that we have a voice. And by signing on to this resolution, that is what we will do.
April 2023 was the last city council election for the at-large. Maybe not. turnout was about 16%. It put Kelly, Euler, Vespa, Gordon Young, I think they're at large. I think those are all the at large. I'm not sure. It put a few of these here at 16% voter turnout. 2021, that election for the districts and for mayor, had on average, I think it's 17% voter turnout. Mayor, your margin of victory was 43 votes. Rhea, you beat Kovac by like 200, 250 maybe? I think Rickenbach, you had a much healthier or much safer margin of, it was larger, I don't remember what. Alan, you ran unopposed, didn't even have to sweat. I bring this up because I think you should consider by what mechanism are you here? Which Peorians put you here? When you say that you are here for the Peorians, what do you mean? Because it looks like you are here for some Peorians, a few Peorians. I don't think we should be clapping, because a part of this, I don't know which camera to look at. There's a camera, is it that one or is it that one? That leads to YouTube and to TV or whatever. Where is everybody? If the other 70,000 eligible voters knew that they could be as involved in local politics as they could be, would any of you still be here? And would we be doing this tonight? Or would there be people here who would have known well enough after 30,000 dead civilians that they could push the needle as what the public opinion is? It's frustrating. It's frustrating, but I do want to make notice that, like, how many people here tonight? I think maybe some people left, but there was maybe 100 people here. That's enough to change your margin of victory. If by the next election we were to theoretically have 50% voter turnout, I think this horseshoe looks a lot different. And I think you should really consider which way that skews for you. I respect all of you. I don't dislike any of you personally. I don't know any of you. But politically, collectively, I think this horseshoe is garbage. I constantly have. I watch every meeting on YouTube. I'm constantly there's so many things I want to say. There's things I want to say about the agenda tonight. I mean, regarding parking and regarding development on the 800 block drive, but it's not really that important to me. I want to comment about the buying water company, which you failed to do. What I want to say right now is that I've been watching this collection of people fumble around pretty low impact issues, short-term rentals. You punt that around over and over again as if one person having to put up with one party at one time is the epitome of light in the city. And yeah, that's sure, it's important stuff, but I don't know. I'm ranting, I'm sorry for that. But I don't think if Adam Smith has an invisible hand, why is that invisible hand building so many bombs to go to the Middle East? "19 seconds, ceasefire now."
Zachary Gittridge, followed by Celine Corley.
Hello, I'm Zachary Gittridge, and here we are in the United States of America, where we're all equal. I'm equal to my dear friend Andre. I'm equal to my dear friend Zach. I'm equal to my dear friend Riggenbach. I'm even equal to Mr. Growth over there. And that's what the ceasefire actually calls for. It is about equality. It says Hamas needs to stop and Israel needs to stop. It says Hamas needs to release its hostages and Israel needs to release the 8,000 Palestinian hostages that it has. And I heard a Zionist recently said they're not hostages, they're prisoners because they were convicted of, they're criminals. Remember, the Palestinian hostages were put through sham military tribunals, no objective judge, no impartial jury, just a bunch of racist IDF soldiers judging on them. And by that logic, Hamas could do a whole bunch of sham trials on the hostages they have, and then they would be prisoners. They would be legitimate prisoners according to what the Zionists say. And I started this by pointing out that we're all equal, because I believe we're all equal. Everybody here believes we're all equal. But the Zionists don't believe that they're equal. They're a special people. They're God's chosen people. And because they are better than all of us, they don't have to follow our rules. They don't have to follow international rules at all. Because they're better than the rest of us. I don't believe that. I believe we are all equal here. I have to follow the same rules as everybody else here. And I uphold that. It's fundamental. But they don't believe that. They are a people unlike any other people. And therefore, they're allowed to do whatever they want. No matter how many children are murdered, no matter how many innocent hostages that they take, women, children that have actually been verified that they were sexually assaulted and raped in Israeli torture dungeons. And that's what this ceasefire says. This ceasefire supports equality. People that oppose the ceasefire don't. They don't support equality. They support the continuing idea that somehow they're superior to everyone else and they don't have to follow anybody's rule. They don't have to follow international rules. They're allowed to do whatever they want because they're special, and that guarantees that they can simply do more. And there's not going to be any consequences for them. And it's very unfortunate. And so, yes, we should have a ceasefire. I would also point out that the people that say they want the Israeli hostages back so much, except for two that just happened 2 days ago, every single Israeli hostage that Israel has gotten back has only occurred during a ceasefire. That's it. That's the only time they've ever gotten hostages back, except two just a couple days ago. In fact, there were 3 IDF soldiers that were kidnapped by Hamas that the IDF then murdered when they were trying to escape. They had no shirt on. They're yelling in Hebrew. They got a white flag. But the Hannibal Doctrine, which is an Israeli doctrine that basically says you can do anything you want to prevent any Israelis or IDFs from being taken hostage, including killing them, the Hannibal Doctrine says, well, we might as well, they killed their own people. It's terrible. So common sense would say, well, a ceasefire, based off of all the evidence we have, is the singular best way to get Israeli hostages back. Because it's the most effective. They got the most hostages back by then. And in fact, there have been recent ceasefires presented that would release all the remaining Israeli hostages and at least some of the 8,000 Palestinian hostages. I mean, it would be completely disproportional, but that's because the people that believe that they're better than everybody else don't view the Palestinians, they barely even view the Palestinians as humans as it is. So, of course, you could trade 1,000 Palestinian hostages for one Israeli hostage, because maybe you're starting to get equal then. So for those reasons, you should support a ceasefire. Thank you.